Welcome, welcome. So for everyone that's joining us here today, hello. If you want to just tap into the chat where you're tuning in from, where are you coming in, where are you tuning in from, and so we can create some coherence together. Welcome, everybody. So today's masterclass, Love is the Antidote. I want to share a little story. Um, hello, everybody. I want to share a little story. So around our heart's love, heart rate variability, oxytocin. We're going to be diving into these elements here today in this class, and we're also going to be exploring attachment styles. So, one of the coolest things happened yesterday. Um, I was out with my daughter, and my son calls me up and he's like, Mom, did you send yourself like Valentine's things? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And I was like, show me a picture. And lo and behold, a friend of mine sent me 100 red roses for me and purple tulips for Jenna. And, when I came home and I saw it, I was really, blown away in the most wonderful way. At the same time, I was like, wow. I asked my son again, I was like, why would you think that I would have sent it to myself? And he's like, I don't know, like some sort of self-love healing thing you're doing. And I absolutely love where his thoughts went with this one. So, again, one of the things that I've been speaking a lot to our community and with my clients, when we change our internal landscape, the external changes. It's not just our lens of perception that changes, the way that field and people around us and the way they respond to us changes as well. And so we're speaking about heart rate variability. Today's Valentine's Day. We want to speak about love, love as the antidote, oxytocin as the antidote. What do I mean by that? We know that oxytocin has a relationship to cortisol. One of the coolest things that we're wanting to discuss here is the power of coherence that is possible to achieve when we are in a higher, a more regulated state. And this happens naturally when you're giving TVM. This is happening naturally when you're receiving a modality like TVM. We are creating internal coherence. The body, the heart rate slows down, becomes really strong, a strong heartbeat, big rhythmic breathing. It starts and it turns off the amygdala. So the threat response or that state of not feeling safe gets turned off. Parasympathetic activation happens and more population of your frontal lobe. And who here notices that when you're around people that you know love you, that you feel safe around, you can act goofy, you can be your more authentic self while you feel more guarded around people you're not sure of, you don't know very well. Who here has that experience? And that's why also who here in the beginning of any romantic dynamic you've been in, do you find yourself being more guarded? Who here in the beginning of romantic dynamics, you find yourself, can I show this version of myself? Or are you, after a while, you're like, oh, it's safe. I can just be myself. And that's where you're just like hanging out in pajamas if that's not your normal thing. Is because what has happened? What has happened in these dynamics? You have created a pattern. So yes, totally. You've created a pattern. That's what's happened. So there's a prediction in your patterning. Okay. And what is really cool that most people don't know, and this may be new even for the TVM community, is that your heart sends out a signal for perception. It influences. So your perception, the way you view the world, is not generated from your conscious cognitive thoughts. It's actually generated from your heart. So if you don't have heart rate variability, high heart rate variability, if you don't have coherence in your heart, you don't have enough oxytocin circulating in your system, Your lens of perception, the way you're viewing the world, is dominated through that lens of perception. So if you're wanting to change your interaction, this is where that quantum viewership even comes through. If you want to change your viewership, you have to get your heart regulated. Your heart sets out, it's an electromagnetic field that is extremely strong. It sends more information to your brain than what your brain is sending down to it. And this is one of the cool facts about when you learn about the heart and you learn about oxytocin. Your vagus nerve is sending information from your heart to your brain, more information in terms of input than what the brain is sending to the heart. So, if we are here to change our lives, if we're here to experience a better life, it is so incredibly important to invest in our heart, in love, in oxytocin. So, one of the coolest things, we're TBM practitioners in the house, we know how to generate oxytocin. For the folks that don't know how to generate oxytocin, there is this misconception out there around how we can generate more oxytocin and regulate our nervous systems. And seeming that if you even go and do basic research, a lot of people are like, oh, having an orgasm is a somatic event and it releases a lot of oxytocin. That is correct. However, orgasms are not the pathway to regulating your nervous system because they're isolated events. What can you do then to create a consistent oxytocin flooding in your system that starts to even signal that oxytocin is safe, that love is a safe event? And this is where that attachment style comes in. A lot of people, you may have personally experienced this, or you may have worked with people and clients that have this experience that love is not safe. They don't necessarily know that safety is a survivable event. So there's no baseline in their system that safety is a survivable event. And what happens here is not that oxytocin is misinterpreted or that oxytocin is bad. Oxytocin's interpretation internally in the system equals no trust, inconsistent, unpredictable. And this is where those early attachment styles come in. Is love predictable? Is it safe? Is it safe to be myself? Can I explore who I am? This is again accessing your frontal lobe. Your capacity to make decisions, good decisions, are directly related to how much oxytocin you have circulating in your system and the interpretation of oxytocin. The more oxytocin you have in your system, the higher your parasympathetic activation is. You're lowering the inflammation in your amygdala, your threat response, and you're accessing your frontal lobe, and you start to populate your frontal lobe. You start to make better, way better decisions. You're safe to be yourself in the world, your authentic self in the world. So how can we do this? How can we reshape this? Specifically, if we've experienced trauma or our clients have experienced trauma, specifically if there's anything in relating to attachment styles. So regardless of your interpretation of your childhood, regardless of what you think your attachment style is, if you are not able to be authentically yourself, if you're not able to communicate your needs, if you're not able to feel safe in the world, received in the world, then your imprinting, and this is really important, everybody. It could be from childhood. Another one that's really, really important, specifically of your female physiology, burnout. If you have been stressed with regards to work, with regards to money, with regards to being single, with regards to the economy, with regards to whatever, if these elements have been alive in your system for a prolonged period of time, your system is now working in a complete depletion of oxytocin. And this is why we see also right now that there's a fertility situation. We have massive decrease in fertility. We have female physiology, rapid, the decline or the age of when menopause and perimenopause is the onset is is completely correlated to the level of chronic stress and the lack of oxytocin in our systems. So, okay, if we know that oxytocin is a natural tonic, oxytocin has a relationship to cortisol, we're now seeing, okay, it's not just my attachment styles, what I experience in my childhood. If you're chronically stressed, it's going to impact your attachment style right now. It's because why? Why will it impact your attachment style? Why would it impact the way you relate to love? Because you're burnt out. Because it has a direct relationship with oxytocin. You are now the interpretation of oxytocin could in your system could be interpreted as threat, not trustworthy, inconsistent, unstable. No, I'm more familiar with the stress response. I'm going to hang out here. This has a direct influence on how we relate, how we go and interact with people, how we date, how we are in our in our any romantic or love-based relationship. So even with your children as a parent. So the cool thing here is that again, practitioners in the house, we have tools that we can use to help strengthen and create more oxytocin in our systems and increase our heart rate variability. But the most important thing, everybody here, is to have an honest and transparent audit of yourself. Where are you right now with regards to your relationship to oxytocin? For the coffee drinkers in the house, I'm one of them. When you drink coffee, it changes the way your heart rate, it changes the way it beats. When it creates that shift, it can also change your nervous system's interpretation. So it's not just your experiences, the chemicals that are running in your body right now, the internal chemistry that is impacting your heart and the way you're creating, co-creating life around you. It could also be the substances that you are consuming. So being really mindful of how and what in your environment is influencing your heart, because the way, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Your heart is so precious. This is why we love our hearts. This is why it's such a big deal. Love is the antidote. Your heart literally shapes your perception. Your perception shapes your reality. If you're wanting to change your reality and you're wanting to really change your internal landscape, the fastest way to do that is to change your heart, to change the way your heart is beating. We want high heart rate variability. What does that mean? We want strong, consistent coherence. Why? Why? From a quantum perspective, why is it important to have so much emphasis on our heart? So this is not just a nervous system tonic. This is not just an antidote to trauma. This is not just that bringing regulation to your system. It is also creating a field around you. So the heart has a massive electromagnetic field, and guess what? It can become even bigger. This is the coolest thing. This is how we're able to feel people. This is how we're able to feel people. We're picking up on how much love that's ricocheting in their system. We can feel oxytocin. We literally can, it's a pheromone. We can pick up on it. We can smell it. We can smell love. We feel it. We pick up on it. We also feel the electromagnetic field of coherence. So if the electromagnetic field is big and it's coherent, it feels good to be around people. People who have a coherent electromagnetic field are the individuals who are in that mathematical equation of the win-win-win. They're the people who are able to see solutions. They're the individuals who are able to see the silver lining in everything. Why? They have internal coherence. It literally shapes their perception of reality. And it is felt, it's palpable, it's having an independent relationship to the field. So it's an electromagnetic um, um, pulse that is putting out there what we do know from a quantum mechanics perspective. The higher the coherence, if your of your field, your internal field, the higher the coherence of the field around you. So again, I had been married in the past. I had dated individuals. I've never received 100 roses from anybody before. It was the first time. What did I see when I received those 100 roses? I saw coherence. I saw, wow, that's input from the field that was picked up and brought back to me as a reflection. All of this is clues. These are clues. Your life is a collection of clues. If there are certain parts of your life that you do not like, then there is a internal coherence. There's an imbalance or a mismatch in the signaling. There's signals that are coming through internally, somatically, from your heart. Today's class is about your heart to your brain through your vagus nerve. Okay, so yes, say the same thing, God. Where one goes, we all go. This is beautiful. Okay, everybody. So, how can we create, if an orgasm is a beautiful somatic event and we know it creates a lot of oxytocin, however, it's not the kind of events that will create the level of safety that we need and the prolonged, sustained input so that we can change our internal coherence. So, what can we do to do that? One is extremely important to have a daily practice. This is for everybody across the board. This is for you, for your personal development. This is for your clients. This is in between sessions to have a daily practice of touch, quality, safe touch. This will change your life. I seriously cannot emphasize this enough. When I started doing this consistently for the first time, speaking of orgasms, I had a spontaneous orgasm without touching myself, without touching myself in an erotic way. I was gently touching, caressing my body in my own self practice, amplifying love in my field, and I felt my body relax. This is what we see on the table when we're doing our oxytocin protocol. We're looking at that jaw relaxing, we're looking for that nice rhythmic breathing, right? That's how we know oxytocin is moving through the system. And what happens? People start to rest, their systems goes into that deep parasympathetic response, which is like, I'm safe enough to rest, close my eyes. We're now getting into that higher heart rate variability, right? And a lot of deep repair is happening. This is so important, everybody. I started to feel so relaxed and I started to doze off in my own self practice, my own oxytocin practice. And then I woke up because my body went into a spontaneous orgasm. Isn't that amazing that oxytocin can create the environment where your body can go into a spontaneous space of creating even more oxytocin? And so this is so incredible. Our bodies are so incredible, and we're here to do some amazing things, everybody. We all have nipples, we have breasts. So this is for male physiology and female physiology. One of the fastest and most sustained ways to for self releasing of oxytocin in your own self practice. And you can, all of you turned off your cameras, so you can go into this practice right now if you want, and you can come in and you can just cup your breasts over hands over nipples, and you can offer a gentle vibration. So it's gentle, safe touch. So again, being very intentional, I'm here, and you can pair this with an affirmation of I love myself. Nipple stimulation is a huge oxytocin releasing. Um, it triggers a release of oxytocin, and our hearts have built-in receptor sites for oxytocin. Again, for everyone here who's wanting to explore curiously, with curiosity, how can we experience more love? One is to signal love as a safe event somatically, and then two, to start to activate your somatic receptor sites of oxytocin in your heart, your breasts in proximity to your heart, very close, yeah, very relevant. So you can even in your mind's eye speak to your body, say, hello, I love you, and wanting to experience more heart rate, coherence, variability. I want to feed this electromagnetic field. I want it to influence my perception in the most wonderful way. Again, when you study and we go deeper into understanding our hearts from a physiological perspective, it is also your deep front line. So we carry a lot of information here from childhood. We carry a lot of information from generations. So it's also storing information. It has its own independent, what we know about our hearts have their own independent experience. It's heavily studied that the heart, from a physiological standpoint, has its own neurons and it's independently from the central nervous system, interpreting information around it, and then it sends a signal to your brain. So your heart is having an experience. And let's bring some love into this beautiful heart of ours here today, everybody. Let's bless our hearts. And again, you can go into a gentle also circular motion with your nipples. Again, this is all about releasing oxytocin. And if you have experienced childhood trauma and or you have in the past experienced um, burnout, you're female physiology individual, you've experienced burnout, you have stress from work, you have stress from the economy, you have whatever is happening in your life, do not be afraid or to really jump into the self practice. And one of the fastest ways somatically to induce safety in our bodies for ourselves is to come and stroke our face, specifically around our ears. Very, very profound. The our faces, from an evolutionary standpoint, our faces are our contact point. It's how we identify ourselves. So when you want to send, you're meeting someone new, we're going to be using a whole bunch of relating uh, um, references here. So if I'm meeting somebody new or I'm creating a dating profile, I don't put a picture of my hand or a picture of my foot. Some people may, but more often than not, your headshot. You have a headshot. Is your face. It's how you relate to the world. We are social beings. We evolved to have high value to be socially engaged. And this is another big one, a big cue for everybody here. Do you feel anxious when you go into new groups? Um, do you feel guarded? Do you feel are the first thoughts that come to you emotionally that people are criticizing you or um, that you'd be isolated, so you go into these negative spaces. If that is happening, then that is also cues for you to understand that there is incoherence in your heart, i.e., that there's not enough activation to your frontal lobe, there's not enough activation of your parasympathetic response. And so, again, this practice, everybody, is so important. Have a date with yourself, 20 minutes a day, just to gently stroke yourself again. Face is so important around your ears, big ventral vagus connections happening around the ears. This is why, again, more dating and romance referencing coming your way. When you are making love to somebody or somebody comes close to you and they're making love to you or you're making love to yourself, you may notice that there's extra heightened sensation in your ears. Some people really, really like their ears to be somatically engaged. Why? It creates a parasympathetic response. It helps you soften into your most authentic expression. And so we're going to use the same somatic information that we have from our bodies for ourselves. Again, that oxytocin self release happening with your breast activation, with nipple activation, and caressing your face and around your ears. Once you go into this practice, I'm telling you, hand over heart, this will change your life. Give me 3 weeks, 20 minutes every single day. In 3 weeks, you will be a different person. The way you feel will be different. You're going to create compounding oxytocin in your system, in your body. And this is the thing. If you've had experienced that love is not safe, i.e., there's attachment, um, trauma from childhood. And also, right now, if you are feeling everything's a relationship, I've said it a million times, I'm going to say it again. Everything's a relationship. If you're a female physiology individual and you live in an economy that's industrialized, where things are moving really, really fast, people driving fast vehicles, the news is constantly being bombarded with all of these, like, negative information. You may be in burnout without you even recognizing it. You may be in chronic burnout, which means you're not able to really feel love. This is why there's so many courses and trainings around return to your femininity. How do you return to your femininity? It's oxytocin. All of these trainings are designed to help you feel more oxytocin, allow oxytocin to run through your system, and then to signal safety. This is huge, everybody. This is why a lot of people, it used to be me. We just, the typical 9 to 5 type environment is just not conducive to the well-being because it puts female physiology individuals into a state of chronic stress that the body's interpreting as chronic burnout. That is, again, somatically, this is, if there's one big takeaway that you will take away with you today, other than your oxytocin practice, is recognizing this, that it literally will mimic. So even if you have secure attachment, so even if you grew up with loving um, parents and you have secure attachment from your childhood, so no childhood trauma there, then you're thrusted into an environment where your work, your nervous system is working at that rate, is going to be signaling somatically to your heart the same way if you had a traumatic childhood. You'll have the same internal somatic signaling, which is huge. Okay, everybody. Beautiful. Yes, heartgasms. Beautiful. How are we all doing? How's everyone doing here? Are we learning something new about our heart? Our heart shapes our perception. Oxytocin, if we have experienced oxytocin and because of childhood trauma, because of potential burnout, chronic stress, oxytocin could be interpreted as threat in our system. So not all oxytocin, it is good. However, the interpretation in the system could be varied. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. So can we run an internal audit, everybody? Let's run an internal audit. And I want to ask you all, and your internal audit right now, where are you? Where are you with regards to your relationship to oxytocin? True audit. If you feel, here's a big one, because I see this in the TBM community, I've seen it sometimes with some of my clients. If you go through massive emotional roller coasters, i.e., it's very easy for you to get thrown off your game, you feel like the end of the world, you feel extremely stressed, you're going through, these big emotional outbursts. I'm going to tell you with all the love in my heart, you don't have enough regulation in your system. You do not have a consistent input of oxytocin in your system, and the oxytocin is potentially being interpreted as not safe. This is why the other side of it looks as your life looks like dysregulation. Okay, that, oh my goodness, it's like the end of the world. An event happens and you just feel like you're crippled, you're not able to move, you're not able to think. What is happening here is we do not have enough strength in your heart. We don't have enough strength. This is the coolest part about oxytocin. Oxytocin is, and this is why I love the antidote. Oxytocin has this input into our systems and it makes us more resilient. It actually helps tone your muscles. Not only does it change your lens of perception, it tones your heart as a muscle, it's beating. When you have high heart rate variability, i.e., you have enough internal regulation, you have oxytocin, enough adequate amounts of oxytocin circulating in your system, and your interpretation of the oxytocin is that it's safe, you are becoming stronger. Your overall health markers become significantly better. This is really cool, everybody. Why? Because oxytocin is a natural anti-inflammatory. Oxytocin is a natural anti-inflammatory. And that leads to longevity. One of the coolest studies that came out a few years ago, they discovered that when this is about social connection, right? When we feel like we belong, this is why these calls in our community are so important, everybody. When we come together and we have this community, we come together and we're doing something we like. We're all somatic practitioners here, we're somatic researchers, and we're deepening our relationship, our internal relationship to the consciousness within ourselves. So we all have that shared thread. We all speak the same language. We have the same interests. It allows social connection to happen. This is the most beautiful thing about even being in the world of technology today, that we can use it to connect. We can use it to connect. And what they've discovered that when we feel connected, okay, when we feel connected socially, our bodies releases oxytocin. And what they discovered in the study, which is about oxytocin, not social connection, but the trigger was social connection, was that oxytocin allows our DNA to repair itself, which means this genetic expression of our skin, our youthfulness, repair systems, we are at a higher rate of immune response. We don't have the wear and tear of standard or expedited aging. So you can quote unquote say oxytocin is your anti-aging agent. It literally supports our DNA so that the expression, our genetic expression, the way our body is able to regenerate itself, stays at a very rapid rate, the same kind of responses that we see in younger individuals. So for everyone who's out there into that whole biohacking, longevity, you know, you're investing in all the face creams or whatever it is that you're doing, invest in your heart. This is the whole thing. Get oxytocin to run through your system. You have just hit the jackpot, the internal jackpot around anti-aging, longevity, oxytocin. So what is here not to love about love? Like love is literally the antidote. It increases it changes your perception, increases your electromagnetic field into deeper coherence, which makes your life very beautiful and pleasant. If people around you, they levitate towards you, they feel gravitational pull towards you when you have coherence. You are naturally anti-aging, so you have longevity. Your body can go into deep states of repair. So is love the antidote, everybody? Is love the antidote? Like, what's not to love about love? Happy Love Day. We understand, do we all understand also with regards to inflammation, that if there's dysregulation or unresolved trauma, you are going to have neuroinflammation? Does everyone here understand that? Yes. How's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? Are we wanting to go into a deeper practice right now? Somatic practice? Does that feel good? Okay. Neuroinflammation. Okay. Beautiful. Neuroinflammation. When we have dysregulation, neuroinflammation shows up. So we have a heightened response coming from our amygdala, the part of our brain that is um, closer to our brainstem. And what happens, it becomes inflamed. So that is neuroinflammation. It shows up as dysregulation in your system. So inflammation, inflammatory markers. So when you, for instance, when somebody twists their ankle, the ankle becomes inflamed, right? It swells up, it creates this pocket around it, a protective pocket, right? So if there's any other blows that come to it, it won't hurt. The inflammation is a protection mechanism that the body does when you go and you exercise and you lift weights. You are going to have inflammation the next day. You're going to have retention of water and inflammation the next day. Why? Because you just created micro tears in the muscle fiber. And so the body goes in to repair it. So inflammation is a natural process that happens in the body. However, when we have too much inflammation, it is eating up all of our resources and energy. And what we find that individuals who have dysregulation, i.e., they have unresolved trauma, they don't have that high heart rate variability, they don't have enough oxytocin running through their system, they have inflammatory markers. Everyone who's in the biohacking and longevity field, they're all looking at ways to reduce inflammation. We all have it, everybody. We have the antidote. Love is the antidote. Love is a natural anti-inflammatory, and it reduces inflammation, it reduces swelling. When we have less inflammation in our system, the body's able to repair itself more efficiently. So chronic inflammation is not a good thing. And individuals who have dysregulation in their nervous system have chronic neuroinflammation. Okay, that's what it is. Your nervous system circuitry, the way the chemistry that is running in your body is signaling that in an ineffective way. It is not being efficient. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for asking these questions. So again, when you have a dominant circuitry of ventral vagus, you are parasympathetic and dominant, means you also have enough oxytocin running through your system and you have high heart rate variability. Your heart is coherent, it's sending out a coherent signal. Okay. It means that you don't have that neuroinflammation. You don't have that circuitry. When you are dominantly in a dysregulated state, your dominant circuitry is sympathetic, or you're in dorsal, you're in shutdown, you are experiencing heightened neuroinflammation. Your system is stuck in these circuits, and what it's doing, it's eating up energy, it's eating up a whole bunch of resource. And again, this is how that your dominant circuitry creates your lens of perception. It's coming somatically, it is from your heart. Your heart does not have the strength or capacity to process stress. A little stress can be almost like a catastrophic internal event somatically, because that's where the dysregulation is. Again, when we're practicing TVM, everybody, why do we tell all our clients we need X amount of sessions? Why? We are building vagal tone. How are we building strong vagal tone? We're traveling the cascade. We release oxytocin. We create that environment where we're signaling safety to the body, that oxytocin is safe one. When we release these levels of oxytocin through our oxytocin protocol, through the safe touch, through regulated touch, through the consent process, and we're seeing the markers come through, we are building vagal tone by creating a very high heart rate variability, internal coherent state. This is why, for those of you in your own TVM practice, everybody, I tell you, for those of you that have been my clients, or you've been in a training with me and someone now, they're in a very coherent space, I tell them, now's the time for you to pray. Now's the time to do your affirmations. Now's the time to your manifesting whatever your desires are, because you are in such coherence. You're in very, very strong state of coherence. It's a beautiful state to be in. Again, we have a relationship with the field. We have a relationship, and again, this is all scientific, everybody. This is not who your heart is an electromagnetic field, okay? And electromagnetic fields, they operate on coherence, okay? Beautiful, everybody. So does that answer the question around inflammation and how it uses up energy? And when we free up energy, we have more oxytocin and yes, okay, beautiful. We have more oxytocin. We are able to um, create more coherence. Beautiful, everyone. Let's jump into somatic practice, everyone. For everyone that is here, let's get into a space of deeper internal coherence for ourselves. Let's jump into a little bit of love is the antidote. And we're going to wrap up this call here with regards to that. Just gentle reminder on the importance of oxytocin specifically for regulating your nervous system, and then also allowing you to access more of your frontal lobe. Why is accessing your frontal lobe important? It allows you to have an authentic expression of yourself. It allows you to make better decisions. um, Accessing your frontal lobe is where, yeah, your authentic personality, yourself is. And, today's call, Love is the Antidote. I want to get to know the most authentic version of each of every one of you. I invite you to get to know the most authentic version of yourselves. I hope that you are able to have an honest, realistic audit around how much oxytocin is circulating in your system. I hope that this call is allowing you to be able to quantify based on how you respond to things, based on um, how you touch yourself, um, how you relate to yourself, your external relationships, what they look like, um, gives you that really honest, transparent input around the state of your heart coherence, the state of your heart rate variability, and how much oxytocin is truly being circulated in your system. It's really important to be honest and transparent with ourselves, especially if we're here to change ourselves and change our clients based on the clues, right? And also how we can build more oxytocin in our system. And this little practice we're going to jump in right now. So we're going to, everyone, all TVM practitioners in the house, bring your hands to master point. Just take a deep breath in. And being very intentional, everybody here, with your self TVM practice, being extremely intentional around everything that we're learning here, that your heart is literally sending information to your brain, is shaping your thoughts, is shaping your reality, it's creating your perception. So we're going to say hello to the heart. We're going to say hello to the heart space. And in this space also, just recognizing, right, everything's a relationship and the heart is extremely important. As we're saying hello to our beautiful hearts, let us also set intentions in motion to have a better relationship with our heart. And this is everything from committing to exercising, committing to a self coherence practice, a self love practice, committing to more oxytocin in our systems, committing to broadening our awareness. One of the highest forms of intelligence is having awareness around your own thoughts. And this, in its own self, in its own right, in its own way, activates different neural pathways. And so, even in your intention right now, recognizing that your heart is shaping your perception and that this is valuable information based on how you are viewing different things, is telling you information, valuable information, extremely valuable information around the state of your internal heart's coherence. Okay. So regardless of how your perceptions are, what your perceptions are internally, knowing that it's valuable information because it's telling you about your heart's coherence. And just bringing in a little bit of a blessing to your heart. And again, blessing to the information that your heart's giving you. And you can bring your hands depending on what feels good for you. In this moment, what feels really, really good for me is I'm going to bring my hands and I'm going to just gently tap on my forearms. And I am fortifying my commitment in this moment. And I'm smiling to my beautiful heart and I'm fortifying the commitment. Thank you for all of the valuable information. Beautiful heart. Thank you for the information around the state of your coherence because I noticed my lens of perception that you heavily influence. So thank you for showing me the information where we are at right now. And in this, I'm going to say I love you to my beautiful heart. And I already feel oxytocin moving through my system. There was that spontaneous sigh. I'm going to be smiling to my heart. Because everybody, knowledge is power. When we know what is happening in our heart's coherence, because we know what our lens of perception is, everything gets easy from here. Everything becomes super easy from here. Are you able to recognize that? Are you able to recognize how information that has meaning becomes knowledge and knowledge is power? Are you able to see that, everybody? Are you able to see the power that you, as a somatic practitioner, learning about your beautiful technology here today? And I just invite you to recognize. I invite you to recognize. Yes. And so I have another spontaneous sigh that's more oxytocin, that's positive feedback looping. Again, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my hands to my face. And we want to, all the research that shows us the power of touching our face, we want to have enough of our hand to be covering at any given moment in time anywhere between 3 to 5 square cms. So more, not just the fingertips, but more of your hand touching at any given moment in time. When you're doing this practice, you want a lot of your hand surface to really be making contact with your face. We want as much of the face to be touched. And we're going to be smiling as we do this. And that's more oxytocin. I feel it in my system, and I feel more spontaneous sighs, and I felt a sympathetic switch off. My abdominal softened. And as I'm here and I'm just recognizing my beautiful face and all around my ears, I'm now going to bring my hands to my breast and I'm going to offer just a gentle cupping, the gentle, um, just palpation. So it's a gentle, just pulsing. And again, I'm smiling. That was quick. That was another positive feedback loop. And I'm going to set with my intentions that to activate more oxytocin receptor sites in my heart space. And so again, we have oxytocin receptor sites in the heart. One, we want to make sure that they are active. And then two, we're wanting to make sure that they are interpreting and receiving the oxytocin. And this is again your internal dialogue, everybody. And to explore how deep can this love go? How much more love can I feel? The intention of this practice is to create more internal coherence with my heart. And again, there's a direct relationship between oxytocin and your heart rate variability. High heart rate variability is a very coherent electromagnetic signal. It's very strong. And so we're influencing also, we're strengthening the signal, we're influencing the signal. This beautiful heart. And as we do this practice, I'm going to also invite you to set intentions around what parts of your thoughts, your desires, things that you want that you normally in ordinary reality feel contraction around. It could be one of the themes that we have in this beautiful month of February is money with the TVM community. So maybe you want to bring money into this equation right now, or you want to have a better relationship with your children, or whatever it is. Um, Whatever it is, you can bring those elements of desire into this practice right now. And who here is able to feel the positive feedback looping of oxytocin in their system? Who here is able to feel that? You can drop a comment or you can raise a hand. So we have a hands up, we have thank you, or you can write a comment. Who here is not able to feel oxytocin in your system? Who here is struggling to feel oxytocin? Anybody needing extra support? Okay, beautiful. So everybody, we understand the importance of your oxytocin. Oxytocin is not just the um, naturally connected to cortisol and it dampens your cortisol. It also turns off your amygdala, your heart somatically. It is also sending out, has an independent relationship to life. It's coding information, it has its own neurons, and it's making decisions about 1 full second faster than your central nervous system. So it is at the forefront of interactions with everything around you, your environment. So it's extremely important to invest in our heart health. Specifically, one of the biggest tonics that we have in our love is that trauma tonic, right? It's an antidote to trauma, but also it strengthens your heart and it changes your internal perceptions. Again, your perception is, we know this, is your heart sending way more information to your brain, your central nervous system, than your central nervous system to it. So it's at the forefront from a physiological standpoint, interacting with your environment. If you do not have internal heart coherence, you're going to have dysregulation. You're not going to have that capacity to navigate stress um, in a calm manner. Again, and if it's shaping your perception and it's somatically subconscious, that means it is also shaping your reality. It's creating a complete, it's a relationship between you and your reality. So if you don't like your life on the outside, it's time to really come into regulating your heart, ricocheting, amplifying oxytocin. If you are a female physiology individual, statistically right now, we're seeing this massive depletion of oxytocin happening, massive dysregulation of the heart space. If you have childhood trauma, it's influencing um, how your heart's sending information internally around love. So it's really important for you to understand that even if you had a healthy childhood with no trauma, but you're potentially um, in an environment where your body's getting burnt out, it's signaling to your body somatically very similar signals that it's hard to have secure attachment. And the antidote is all here, everybody. With TVM, our modality, I've created more modifications of oxytocin protocol. The little exercise we shared here right now is a super beautiful exercise. I highly, highly recommend. Don't be afraid to touch your entire body. Don't be afraid to stroke your body. Remembering the face is extremely important somatically. For many, many reasons. The amount of nerve endings that we have, the way we identify with ourselves, extremely important. The same way you go out there and you bless people around you, tell them how beautiful they are, I invite you to really just even look yourself in the mirror and affirm to yourself. And as you're stroking yourself, even more stroking yourself, that you're going to be changing your relationship to yourself. You're going to be changing your perception to the world, and that you're committing to yourself. And again, everybody, like I said, 20 minutes a day in 3 weeks, I'm telling you, this is the fastest way to change your entire life. Your life will not be the same again. And it is literally just the heart, just bathing yourself in this oxytocin, everybody. Is there a question that you're wanting to ask?
Yeah, I'm just curious if it's would you say it's important for the 20 minutes to be consecutive, or could they be broken up into like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening?
I like doing it in a consecutive 20 minutes, especially as I'm building up the practice. Maybe after you've have enough secure, um, you've already built. So again, everything in our body somatically is it's a rinse and repeat, right? So it's looping and it's learning about itself. The longer the exposure you have and consistency, your body's going to start to produce oxytocin on its own. It knows, oh, this time of day, this is what we're doing. Once you've established that, then you can go into like breaking it down. So now your body's already seasoned at releasing the oxytocin, seasoned at achieving faster that higher rate, heart rate variability. Then you can go ahead and shorten the and break it up throughout the day. But I highly recommend every time I pass by a mirror, I bless myself. I stroke myself. Every time I go to wash my hands, I look at myself and I say something beautiful to myself. And I view myself optimized and I say these nice things. I wait for a signal. I wait for a cue to come through from my body. Um, but yeah, to start off, it will really change everything. To start off, I would do it 20 minutes. And you can set an alarm and it's a date with yourself. In the same way you go and exercise or you go and you make yourself a nutritious meal. This is the same thing. It's a massive investment. It only takes 20 minutes a day. It's all like for me, I found I don't need more than 20 minutes. By the time I'm done with my 20 minutes with myself, it it in 3 weeks is when, and I see it with all my clients, I see it with the people I work with. 3 weeks is usually the mark where like, I tell everyone commit to a month, but usually everyone has major breakthroughs by the third week. It's really profound. And again,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And again, everybody, just having that mind body connection, keep setting the intention for it to be establishing a healthier relationship with your heart. Again, the importance of your heart is so, that's why there's a whole institute, right? The Heart Math Institute, or um, where they study HRV. It's huge. It's huge. Our hearts are huge, and they are also emerging research right now around the relationship. So again, it's an electromagnetic um, field technology. It creates an electromagnetic field around you. This field has coherence to it. And if we understand again the electrons, electricity, right? It is in interacting with the field around it from a quantum perspective. It is a massive quantum relationship, and it creates again resonance with coherence. So if you have a strong and coherent electromagnetic field around you, it is it's creating an internal feeling. It's again, they feed and they loop into one another. So the more oxytocin you have, the stronger your heart rate variability is going to become. We're going to activate your oxytocin receptor sites. Um, the stronger that coherence, you're going to notice the internal landscape is going to change. When the internal landscape changes, the external follows. Um, yeah, and so I send you all so much love. I hope that this was useful, beneficial, just learning something different about oxytocin and love. Um, and I hope that you have a blessed rest of your day. Okay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for game changer, game changer. Thank you. You're very welcome, everybody. Love you, everybody. Besos.